Hello and welcome to the Critical Tolkien channel, where I will walk you through the army lists of the Easterlings and the Variags of Khand. So first up, let's look at the Easterlings. The armies of the Easterlings are a truly impressive sight, for they are a host possessed of incredible martial discipline. Some say that the Easterling clutch a blade to their chest even as they are weaned, while others say that warfare and the shedding of blood is akin to a rite of worship to their culture. This army may include Camul the Easterling, and he can be found in a previous episode here on the Army Focus series. That is the Mordor episode. But if you take him as part of a Easterling army, he's counted as a hero of valor, so he can take 15 warriors in his warband. We can also take Amdur, Lord of Blades, and in my opinion, indeed you should. We can take Easterling Dragonites, Easterling Captains, Easterling War Priests, and Easterling Warriors and Easterling Cataphracts. So I'm not including any like Forge World models or later additions to this army walkthrough. I might revisit the expansions later, I guess. But these are the like readily available core units that are present in the Armies of Middle-Earth Battletome. The army bonus for the Easterlings are as follows. No quarter was asked. Easterling models receive +1 courage when their force is broken, when you are under 50% of your starting force. Additionally, once per game in scenarios in which dice is rolled to see when the game ends, so long as there is at least one Easterling hero model alive. And on the battlefield, the Easterling player may choose to have the dice re-rolled if the scenario ends before they wish it to. I mean, there are better army bonuses, I think. It can come in hand, but there are better army bonuses for sure. The second part there with the reroll when the scenario ends, yeah, it can be very decisive in certain scenarios, but it's also pretty situational. But let's look at the heroes here. First up, we have one of my absolutely favorite models in the entire game. He is Amdur, Lord of Blades. He is a hero of valor for 130 points. And if you take the Armored Horse option, he is then 145 points. He has 3 might, 3 will, 1 fate. He has a fight of 6, 4 strength, 6 defense, 3 attacks, 3 wounds, and 5 courage. So obviously those 3 attacks and 3 might and 3 will is quite good. The caveat here is like for such an expensive hero model, just 4 strength is maybe a bit low. But all his other rules kind of make up for it, I guess. He is armed with heavy armor and carries Dirtus, which is a named silver falchion given to him by the Dragon Emperor. It is a elven-made hand and half sword. So elven-made weapons, if you have a tie in a duel and you normally win it on a 4 to 6, you will win it on a 3 to 6 instead. Unless the opponent also has an elven-made hand and half sword, then that bonus will be negated. Hand and half also means that you can wield it two-handed or one-handed. Heroic actions he can do apart from the universal ones is strike and challenge. That means he can raise his fight value and he can opt to just fight one other hero without any other involvement. Armored Horse for 15 points, as I said, which you should totally take. Blood and Glory, which means that he can get a might back if he kills another hero. Unyielding Combat Stance, Phalanx, and the Gleaming Horde. I will talk about those special rules later as they appear in the army list here. For the other units, he is also a Herald of Victory. Passive rule. To fight near Amdur is to witness war glory personified. All Easterling models treat Amdur as a banner. Should Amdur kill the enemy leader in combat, the range of his banner is increased to 6 inches. That's obviously quite hard to achieve, but even just the 3-inch banner is very good. The Lord of Blades active special rule. Whenever an enemy model in combat with Amdur declares an heroic strike, Amdur may immediately declare the same heroic action for free. If Amdur has already declared any other kind of heroic action, he may change his choice, but he does not regain any might point he has expended. That's also quite handy. So he's an amazing character, he's quite sturdy, can win a lot of duels with that elven-made hand and half sword. And if you chuck him into some other cataphracts, he can have defense 7. So yeah, he's very good. Then we have Easterling Dragonites for 65 points each. They can also take Armored Horses. They are minor heroes, so they are more about the fighting and less about the leading. They are fight 5, which is quite nice. They are 4 strength, 6 defense, 3 attacks, 2 wounds. So I think the really great thing about the Dragonites is that they are 3 attacks with for a model that's only 65 points. 2 wounds, 4 courage, 2 might, 0 will, 0 fate. Obviously a bit low, but they have some other neat special rules here. They have also the Blood and Glory special rule, the Unyielding Combat Stance, Phalanx, the Gleaming Horde, the Shield of Blades as well. Dragonites can use the shielding rule whilst armed with 2 swords, which is situationally very useful. Knight of the Dragon Cult. Dragon Knights may only include Easterling models with the Black Dragon upgraded within their warbands, which I will talk about later. But it's not a great caveat. You probably will want to upgrade most of your regular fights to Black Dragons anyway. Maybe apart from like the ranged ones, I guess. Then we have Captains for 50 points, Heroes of Fortitude, 2 Might, 1 Will, 1 Fate, 4 Fight, 4 Strength, 6 Defense, 2 Attacks, 2 Wounds, 4 Courage. So lower fight, lower number of attacks. They are the cheaper alternative, obviously, but you can lead more people with them. They can do the Heroic March, apart from the other universal heroic actions. The Dragon Knight can do the Heroic Strike. You can have the option to swap your Glaive, which counts as hand and a half axe, for Armored Horse and Sword. That will cost you 10 points. You can also take a bow for 5 points, shield for 5 points. They also have those special rules Phalanx and the Gleaming Horde, which I will talk about in a jiffy. Next up we have a caster here, the Easterling War Priest for 60 points. They are Heroes of Fortitude with 1 Might, 3 Will, 1 Fate. They are only fight 3 Strength, 5 defense, 1 attack, 2 wounds, 4 courage, but you shouldn't take them to fight in melee. Heavy armor and Easterling battle stave, so decently tanky, can be used as a spear or two-handed axe. The heroic channeling is the action they can do, apart from the universal ones, obviously, since, yeah, that's basically the same for all casters. Armored Horse for 15 points. They can cast some situationally very useful spells, but they're with pretty meager range, 6 inch for both. Blade Wrath and Fury Easterling, cost on a 2+ and 3+ respectively. Then we have the Warriors, 7 points each. They are fight 3, 3 strength, 5 defense, 1 attack, 1 wound, 3 courage. But with the shield they are defense 6, so quite tanky, like the rank and file soldiers here. And they can also take pikes, which are awesome. The kind of sad part with just collecting an army of Eastlings is that you get only 4 pikes in a box of, let's see, 20 warriors, I think. Yeah, I think we have 8 with swords and 8 with bows, and then only 4 with pikes. I think that's a kind of a cheap trick to let us buy more models. But we have seen that before, haven't we? The other options are to take a bow. You can also upgrade them to be Black Dragons. 2 points each. I mean, they will be quite expensive, but I think it's worth doing. They will then be fight 4. I mean, if you're fighting elves, it will be a redundant option, obviously. Banners for 25 points as well. They also have that Phalanx rule, which means that Easterling models can use pikes and shields at the same time without penalty. Furthermore, should an Easterling model on foot with this special rule lose a dual roll, up to 2 other models that also have that Phalanx rule can make way instead of 1, which can be very handy and avoids you being trapped. Easterling Cataphracts are the cavalry. They are 14 points each with fight 3, strength 3, defense 6, because they have that shield from the beginning. 1 attack, 1 wound, 3 courage. They can take banners for 25 points and war drums for 15 points, but the war drum will only affect the Easterling models. So if you have allies, it won't do much for them. They can also be upgraded to be Black Dragon for 2 points each, which I think is even more point worthy here on the cavalry. The Gleaming Horde special rule. This model gains the shield wall special rule while they remain mounted, even though they are not on foot. The +1 defense bonus is applied to both rider and steed. Hero models with this special rule that do not have a shield will still benefit from this rule. That's really nice. You have +1 defense when you have 2 other similar models in base contact with you. So you can have occasionally defense 7, and you will want to chuck in your hero in the midst there. So summing it up, fairly low strength, so you will have a hard time wounding some armies. But you have the option at least to have good fight values on most of your soldiers, and you have good defense and amazing heroes with Amdur and the Dragon Knights. So, let's move over to the Variags of Khand. So, to the east of Middle-earth lies the fractious and war-torn land of Khand, split into untold number of provinces, settlements and villages. These are all presided over by a host of kings and chiefs, each one having come to rule through ruthlessness, treachery and the acquisition of wealth. For in Khand, power lies with the ones who can best afford it, and loyalty is a commodity that can be bought or sold, as if were goods on a stall. So this is kind of the equivalent of Genghis Khan, I guess. We have a lot of ridden models here, and we have some really cool chariots and stuff like that. So this army may include Khandish kings, and they are not named heroes, so you can take as many as you wish. Khandish chieftains, Khandish warriors, Khandish horsemen, and Khandish charioteers. The army bonus is the Khandish hosts. Khandish horsemen and Khandish charioteers do not count towards the force's bow limit, which is pretty nice. So Khandish king is 95 points base. They are 2 might, 2 will, 1 fate. They are heroes of valor with 5 fight, strength 4, defense 6, 3 attack, 2 wounds and 5 courage. Only 2 wounds there. Hurts a bit, I guess, but you still have 2 might to help you out there. They are armed with heavy armor, a hand and a half axe, and bow, so you get a lot of loadout. They can do heroic resolve, march, and strike for heroics, and they can take and indeed you should, take the Candish Chariot, which is amazing, for 30 points. And I will talk about the chariot when we get there. And you can also, if you just want to sheep out, take the horse for 10 points. But that's not an armored horse, so I wouldn't value it much. The Candish King has the special rule commanding presence. Friendly Candish models within 6 inch of a Candish King counts as being in range of a banner, which is really nice. And the Candish Chieftain is basically as the king, but for sale, I guess. 55 points, hero of fortitude, 5 fight and 4 strength, so pretty much similar there. Defense 5 only though, and 2 attacks, 2 wounds instead of 3 attacks, 2 wounds. Not a huge difference, but only 4 courage. 2-1-1 instead of 2-2-1 for heroics. They have armor, hand and a half axe, dagger and bow, so instead of heavy armor they only have regular armor, and they can only do the heroic march, heroic action, so you can't increase your fight value, for example, which is sad. Candish Chariot can be taken, and you can also take the horse as a sheep option for 10 points if you prefer. Then we have the warriors. They are 8 points each. They are armed with armor, hand and a half axe, and a dagger, and you can swap the hand and a half axe for a bow if you prefer, and that will cost you nothing to do so. They are fight 4 actually, so that's quite nice. 4+ on the bow, by the way. 4 defense only though, so that's quite weak defensively. 1 attack, 1 wound, 3 courage. You can also put them on horses and call them Candish Horsemen. They are fight 4, 4+ on the bow. 3 strength, 4 defense, 1 attack, 1 wound, 3 courage. They are armed with armor, hand and a half axe, bow, dagger, and a horse. And if a Candish horseman is dismounted, they immediately drop either their bow or hand and a half axe as chosen by the controlling player. So yeah, that's a bit of a downer, but they're pretty nice otherwise. I mean, fight 4 is pretty nice, and the fact that they don't count towards bow limits is a really nice thing. So we also have the Candish Charioteer for 30 points, and in this entry we will also describe the entire chariot that the chieftain and the king can take. So the Charioteer is basically just a fighter on a chariot, but doesn't have a bow, but you can swap that hand and a half axe for a bow, just like you can with a normal dude. The chariot though is a mount that has the following profile and special rule. Move 10, fight 0, strength 3, defense 7, 0 attacks, 3 wounds and 3 courage. But a plethora of rules. Defensive bulwark, when an enemy model makes an in-the-way roll to see if they hit either the rider or the mount, they will hit the chariot on a 1-4 and the rider on a 5+. Additionally, when in combat, any model that wishes to strike the rider must roll a d6. On a 1-4, the model must strike the chariot. On a 5+, they may strike the rider. That's really nice actually, and can save your rider a lot of times. And since the chariot has 3 wounds with 7 defense, it's pretty awesome. Chariot and magic, passive, and models with magical powers can use them on the chariot, selecting either the chariot itself or one of the crew members as the target. Magical powers that affect multiple targets will automatically affect both the chariot and its crew in range of the model. Only by affecting the driver will a magical power such as transfix or compel impede the chariot's movement though. Finally, magical powers such as Sorcerer's Blast, Nature's Wrath and Cold Winds will not move the chariot or knock it prone, although they will still inflict any damage as detailed in the magical powers description. That's also really nice. Stable platform, a model riding a chariot can still fire a bow after moving at full distance, also really awesome. Chariot charge is where it really shines though. A Candish Chariot has the monstrous charge special rule. Additionally, a Candish Chariot is an unusual model. Moves in the following way. At the start of its move phase, the controlling player may pivot the chariot up to 45 degrees. When pivoting, the chariot may touch models or terrain. In the case of models, move them out of the way by the shortest route possible. In the case of terrain, move the chariot away just enough to complete its pivot. The chariot may then move up to 10 inch in a straight line. After each full 3 inches the chariot has moved, it may pivot a further 45 degrees. Once the chariot has pivoted to face its desired direction, move it forwards the desired amount in a straight line, ignoring enemy models' control zones. Any models the chariot comes into contact with whilst moving, not pivoting, will suffer 2 strength 4 hits. If the model is slain, the chariot may continue with its movement. Cavalry models suffer 2 hits on both the rider and the mount. If the rider survives but the mount is slain, the rider is thrown, and after testing on the thrown rider shot, it's placed in base contact with the chariot. Might may not be used to affect the results of these hits. Very nice. A chariot that is affected by a heroic march may still inflict these hits as normal. If the model the chariot charges survives, the chariot will still gain the benefit of its monstrous charge. Special rule. The chariot may instead choose to forego its movement in order to pivot to face any direction. If a chariot is moved by an enemy model, it may not pivot in this way. A candy chariot cannot jump obstacles that form a physical barrier, such as hedges, walls, fences, or rocks. They may attempt to cross obstacles such as streams or gullies if they wish, but if a 1 is rolled, the rider is automatically thrown and the chariot is destroyed. So that's obviously a real downer if you happen to find yourself in such a scenario. So yep, that's the canned entry here. A lot of bows you can take. I think most people who play can take at least like 2 chariots and mostly cavalry. There's no real reason to take any infantry here, since the bow limit won't affect your cavalry. Obviously, you will have to buy some infantry as well to replace any thrown riders. But yeah, good fight value. 4 on all your rank and file soldiers are very, very nice. They are though low defense, so that kind of hurts. Next time I will visit the Serpent Horde, but for now, until further ado, take care.